Trenton 365 with Jacque Howard. Profiling the businesses, organizations, and people that make Trenton better.
Hello, friend, and welcome to the Trenton 365 show. I'm your host, Jacque Howard. The website is Trenton365.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at Trenton365 and the Facebook page, Trenton365show. And the email address, Trenton365show@gmail.com. You're listening over WIMG 1300, the Stellar Award-winning station, and our website is WIMG1300.com. And you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter as well, WIMG 1300. And if you're watching, it's over WPHY Channel 25, covering Mercer County, New Jersey. In the studio with me is Katherine Clark, who is the marketing manager for Roxey Ballet Company. And I'm stoked about Roxey Ballet for a multitude of reasons. Number one is that it's a grassroots type of a ballet. And I spent some time with Mark Roxy, who's the founder of the organization, about a month or so ago, a little more than a month. We were talking about his Frankenstein ballet that he put on. But now Katherine's back to talk about the Nutcracker, which is also a fantastic holiday event, a tradition that my family enjoys going to every year. So Katherine's going to be talking about the details about that. But I have to do a plug for Katherine because she will not do it. Katherine is also a filmmaker. And when I say a filmmaker, she has an organization called Pop-Up Anthology. The website is popupanthology.com. I suggest you go there and check it out. There's some things that are happening there right in the city of Trenton, New Jersey, in partnership with Artworks. So Pop-Up Anthology has got some cool things going in. And if you look at some of the archives, you can see when I had her in the studio talking about Pop-Up Anthology and some of the projects that she's working on. Enough of that. Let's transition. Katherine Clark, welcome back to the Trenton 365 show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
As always, it's a pleasure to see you. So let's talk about Roxey Ballet, because I know I'm excited about it. I went to the press event for the Frankenstein ballet that took place at Well, and I was excited about that. So now the season's almost like in full swing, and you've got the Nutcracker coming up. Before we get into details about that, just give a little background information about Roxey Ballet.
Sure. This is Roxey Ballet's 22nd annual Nutcracker. So they've been doing the Nutcracker 22 years, which is amazing. It is a contemporary ballet company, so even though the Nutcracker is, what you think of when you hear ballet, they also do contemporary events like Frankenstein. You don't necessarily think of ballet and Frankenstein together, but they made it happen and they made it incredible. So they do a lot of stuff in the community. They're based in Lambertville, and we're really excited about our upcoming productions.
Mm-hmm. And when you say 22 years, again, a lot of times people talk about art and about how arts aren't really funded well, etc. How has Roxy lasted 22 years?
We do have a lot of funding support from the state, from the Dodge Foundation, from amazing organizations around the country, and we also just have amazing volunteers and patrons who love what we're doing, and they are really the ones to keep it going.
Awesome. And your website, I'd like you to share the website. And folks, I'm always talking about people need to go to the website, use the technology, see what is there, because 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour-long conversation that I'm having isn't going to answer all of your questions. So the website for Roxey Ballet.
Roxy's website is www.roxeyballet.org. It's ROXEY. .org, and then we're also on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram at Roxey Ballet.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned earlier that it's in Lambertville, New Jersey.
It is.
And can you talk about the location? Because I don't want to give away so much of it, but there's something special about the location in Lambertville.
It is. It's very special. It's it's on the other side of Lambertville. It's not in the middle of things, and we're in Canal Studios, which has Rojo's, which has a lot of art gallery spaces. So it's a really unique space, and of course we make all of it happen there. We bring our Nutcracker to TC&J's Kindle Theater, but all the rehearsing and all the in-studio events are right there, up close and personal.
Mm-hmm. Now, can you describe the aesthetics of the Roxey Ballet location in Lambertville? Because I just love the architecture and the building itself.
Yeah, I don't know if I can describe it. It's a really unique space, definitely. Canal Studios, I don't know. How would you describe it?
Well, so what I would say is it's very reminiscent of a turn of the century old brick warehouse that has been fabricated or refabricated or refurbished into this wonderful space that's very modern and a very I'm going to say like a New York or Philadelphia feel to it. And the restaurant and the coffee shop that's located in the same building are very much thriving locations. And I think it's just a perfect space for Roxy to be in.
It's great. Yeah, Liberty Pizza is also there. We love them, and it's next to Big Bear. So we're around all these really unique places. So.
Great. So you gave the website, and it's roxeyballet.org. And on the website, what can people do on your website?
Well, we have right now the main page is just features all the Nutcracker stuff that's going on. So we have a Meet the Dancer experience, which is featured, so younger audience members can get some autographs and meet the dancers after the show. We have a sensory-friendly performance that's featured, so either families with young children or families with special needs or ASD are totally welcome at that performance. It's a really unique experience. And, of course, our main production, the Nutcracker. We also have some calendar events up for our spring performances. So Cinderella and the C Word Stories of Cancer Survivors are also coming up. So when you see the website, you can see all of the events happening. You can see all the intimate and studio events. And you can learn more about who Roxey Ballet is.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And you touched on a couple of things that I'd like to discuss as well. Lately, and I say lately, I'd say the last 4 or 5 years, there's been a very, very much a designed effort from a lot of production houses and design studios to have sensory performances, performances that are more welcoming to people who have different functional issues and provide them the opportunity to experience some amazing art, but in an environment where it's not going to be distracting to other people who are visiting. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, part of the mission of Roxey Ballet is to make dance accessible to everybody, and everyone should have the opportunity to experience dance, and everybody should be welcome into the dance community. Because dance isn't just an art form, it's a method of communication. So the sensory-friendly performance was really important to all of us to have. Like you said, to create a relaxed, welcoming environment, the performance itself will have house lights up at about 20%, so it won't be completely dark. The lobby areas, there will be a quiet area. There will also be fidget objects. All the staff and volunteers are trained for any special needs. And what's most interesting about this performance, which is, we would never allow it in other performances, is that you can use cell phones.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, it's a different environment. It's just relaxed and yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the sensory performance, and for some people who might not know, it caters specifically to some people who are having or who have I don't want to say disabilities, but how would you explain it and be specific as to what some of them are?
Sure. So one of the main audiences of a sensory-friendly performance is individuals with autism spectrum disorder and their families as well. So that's who it's really geared towards. But, we also realize that some families with younger children, sometimes the kids, can't sit still for an hour and 45 minutes and don't really necessarily appreciate the full Nutcracker experience, or they just want to give their kids like a first Nutcracker experience without all the pressure of having to sit still and having to just pay attention to every single thing. So we also really we're totally fine with that too.
Great. Now, from the beginning, was that what Roxey Ballet's intention was? I know it's a part of the mission now to provide opportunities for people to learn about dance and performance and the art of it now, but was that always the perception or the design?
It was very much always the perception. Another part of Roxey Ballet is our education and outreach programs. So we do have a Wheels and Bodies in Motion program where seated dancers who are in wheelchairs get to be paired with the standing dancer, and they learn all the choreography and movements together, and that's something that Roxey Ballet has done from the very beginning. Another part of the education curriculum is their Celebrating Diversity program, which is amazing. It's so unique. It was performed at President Obama's inauguration, so it's a pretty big deal for a Lambertville ballet company, and that's always, like I said, that's always been the mission is to bring as many people to dance as possible.
And so that's something that I'd like you to drill down a bit on, the education and the outreach portion of it. When I chatted with Mark before, I mean, he was very clear that, this is something that it's a community-based event. This dance company, it's a professional dance company, but it's very much entrenched in the community and will always focus on that. Can you just drill down a bit on the education and outreach portions?
The education portion, sometimes they go, all the dancers, and a side note, the dancers are completely amazing. They're from all over the world. They've had years of training, and I can't believe how talented all of them are. So they go into schools. They some have in-school residency programs, so they all teach dance at different schools around the area. And then also, in terms of being a community-based effort, Mark really does want everybody in the community welcome. So we have events like Tutus and Tiaras where, you don't have to be a dancer, but young kids can come enjoy and make different crafts and talk to the dancers. And then, as you know, we also have our beer and ballet. So, it's kind of open bar donations where, you just enjoy craft brews and sit in on a rehearsal. And, you don't have to know anything about dance. When I started, I had no idea, anything about dance. And just from, the welcoming atmosphere, I've been able to just watch rehearsals and see how it really happens. So.
And, it's interesting that you bring up the beer and ballet event, because that is my first experience with that. And then to be able to see so many other people who were there, who I think were in the same place I was. Like, we're used to going to theater and performances, and it's like, wait a minute, can I move around? Can I take some pictures? Can I ask some questions, etc.? And it was so nice to not only Mark, but also the dancers, the choreography, and to be able to see it in a different atmosphere. Because normally when you go to an event, you see start to finish, and if there is a mistake or if there is a change, you have no idea about it because you're just seeing it start to finish. But for the beer and ballet event, which was open to the public, which was awesome, you got a chance to see how it evolved. And forgive me for not knowing the choreographer off the top of my head, but it was nice to see how he worked with the dancers.
Stephen Stone.
Yes, all right, so Stephen.
So
and
Stephen
how,
and Lee's, they choreographed Frankenstein.
Yes, so how he said, well, let's try this, and no, well, let's try this, and what do you think, and what do you think? And then to see it kind of all come together and evolve. To me, that was actually watching the creation happen right in front of me. And I didn't see the actual complete performance, but it was just amazing to me. Can you talk about how important it is for people to acknowledge or understand that there's a whole big backstory behind what you see when you come to a performance?
Oh my goodness, there's a backstory behind the entire production, from costumes to choreography to lights to who comes out when, and making sure your shoes are on the right feet and so on. So behind the scenes is completely different than the performance. We had an event the other week, a brown bag kind of lunchtime ballet, where our guest got to talk to the dancers afterwards. She's like, I had no idea that dancing is actually hard. Like, you guys make it look so easy on stage, but I'm watching you, and, you know, as you've been to Canal Studios, you're so up close with the dancers. So, you know, you can see, like, the sweat and, you know, the heavy breathing and how much work dancing really is. She's like, you don't see that from an audience, as an audience. I think another thing with a really amazing behind-the-scenes story that you never think about is the costumes. So one thing I've been focusing on this season with my time at Roxy is the costumes. And so maybe that's why I'm really impressed with it. But earlier this summer, we had a fundraiser, which, you know, numerous patrons and students who love what we do helped us raise $5,000 for new Nutcracker, Prince, and soldier costumes. And that was incredible because you realize these costumes have been used year after year for 22 years, and you know, everything comes from somewhere. So when you have to make new costumes, you really have to make new costumes. So I've really watched the process unfold, and we have two costume designers, Alicia Warden and Nilda Roxy Jones, who is Mark's mother. And they come together and they hand make all the costumes, and you think, wow, like, that's great, they're handmade, how extraordinary. But really, you know, they're not just costumes to be put on a mannequin. They're costumes that have to be danced in. They're costumes with layers, and you know, they spent months and months researching Victorian era uniforms, and that's where all the inspiration came from. So you see that, and you see, you know, all these pieces that have to come together. It's really incredible.
And the more time that I spend with artists of all different genres, the more I'm encouraged, because, you know, my background in fashion is one thing, but there's a fashion element to the costumes.
Oh, very much so.
Where the designers, the pattern makers, the seamstresses, etc., and even the people who have to clean these garments, this isn't just throw it in your washing machine kind of thing. This is very particular work, and it's couture, because most of the time these costumes are one of a kind. And so it's interesting to actually see how it all comes together. Earlier you had started to talk about the dancers, and you mentioned the Meet the Dancers events. I'd like for you to talk about that a little bit, because I've got some follow-up questions.
Okay, so our Meet the Dancer event is very Nutcracker specific, and it's geared towards younger audiences, you know, maybe somebody's first experience at a ballet, or, you know, somebody who wants to be a dancer one day. There's an autograph book that, you know, patrons can purchase for a small amount, and it's full color. It has all the photos of the characters in there with room to sign. So after the show, they can come up and meet the dancers, take photos, get their autograph, and, you know, it's a one-of-a-kind experience when it comes down to it.
Yeah, and our culture now is so much geared towards technology and social media and so forth. So developing a marketplace for for dancers to be celebrities, as if they danced at, you know, the Greater London Ballet or whatever, or in these other highly esteemed places. But we can replicate that here and provide an opportunity for people who may not get an opportunity to go to some of the larger dance companies, etc., and to give them that experience. But more importantly, we're developing a marketplace now. So now these dancers become household names, and maybe this transfers and gives them an opportunity to grow their brand and to grow the ballet company's brand, etc. When you were talking about the autograph booklet, I'm thinking, okay, for 22 years, hypothetically, if this was going on for 22 years, that's a pretty extensive series of history that you would have. Okay, this dancer has been here how many times, etc.
Yeah.
So I think it's a fantastic idea, and I encourage you to keep doing that.
Great. Yeah, we're excited about it. And, you know, even though we're you know, a small ballet company in Lambertville, the Nutcracker really comes together as this huge production. You'd never know it. You know, you'd have no idea it came from that small Canal Studios when you see it. It's just amazing. So.
And let's shift gears and start talking about the Nutcracker. For an example, can you give some and let me back up, because I'm sure most people have heard of the Nutcracker. I don't know how many people have actually seen it, but I'm one of those. I'm like a Nutcracker nut when it comes this time of year. It's one of the things. Like, yeah, we're gonna go see it, right?
Yeah.
But for the folks who don't have any idea about the Nutcracker, how would you describe what that ballet is?
It's a lot of fun. It's kind of a series of vignettes to Tchaikovsky's music. There's the Sugar Plum Fairies, there's the Snow Queen, there's mice and a rat king. So, it's centered around one young girl, Clara, and she goes on this adventure to,
It's pretty awesome. And I'm sure when you hear Tchaikovsky's music, you'll say, I've heard that before, not necessarily putting it together with the Nutcracker or vice versa. So I encourage folks to check that out. Why don't you share the contact information one more time? And on the website, people can purchase tickets, correct?
Yeah, www.roxeyballet.org. And to purchase tickets, it's www.roxeyballet.org/Nutcracker. And when you're on the Nutcracker page, you can choose from, if you want to go on Saturday the 26th, or if you want to go December 3rd, you can pick your performance time. So
great. Now back to talking about the Nutcracker a little bit. I know that you obviously enjoy it. I know that I enjoy it, and there's a lot of in the previous ones I've seen, there's a lot of movement where it may be difficult for some people to follow the story. Because of Claire's experience, and I don't want to give it away, but how would you explain that?
How would I explain that? I don't know if you really necessarily have to follow the story. I think it's, you just enjoy it. There's so much, it's kind of like Alice in Wonderland to me.
Okay.
In a way. I don't know, maybe that's how I kind of see it, but there's just so many, or Wizard of Oz,
Yeah, like if you were to pull something out of Alice in Wonderland or the Wizard of Oz and say, okay, look, I'm going to break this down for you and explain this series, it would be difficult. Because people would say
it is difficult to explain, and maybe that's why it's told through dance, not necessarily through an entire
spoken
book,
word or something,
or spoken word. So.
And besides it being centered around Christmas, the Christmas time of year, why do you think it's become such a holiday tradition?
I think it's part of it's the music. I think part of it is that it's always around the holidays, and you just grow up thinking, I'm going to go to Nutcracker, and Nutcracker, it's Christmas time, and there's so many winter scenes in it. Right now, all of our promotion photos are of the snow, like the snow scene. It's so beautiful. So I think it's just,
It's just one of those things that just kind of fits nicely culturally with what's going on in the world.
I think so. I'm sure, Mark or some of the dancers would have a completely different answer than me. But like I said, I'm not a dancer, so this is my non-dance perspective of it.
Great. And that's a nice transition to talking about your position with Roxey Ballet. And how would you describe that?
I do all the media and marketing for them. So some of the social media is me. And, some of the photographs, we redesigned our website this summer, and that was kind of a team effort.
Which is very nice, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, I like it very much.
We're excited about it. And press releases and radio shows, so that's what I do.
All right, cool. So for someone, a young person, or someone who's thinking of, hey, I kind of think I'd like to know more about it. Like, how would you describe how you got into the business of marketing, and how would you encourage others to look into it as a viable career as well?
Sure. Well, as you know, I studied film directing, so I come at it from a very visual point of view instead of like I have to sell. Marketing isn't about that. It's about appreciating what it is you're around. And I also come from a nonprofit background, so for me, community-based efforts and the arts and especially welcoming arts communities is really the perspective I came from it, and that's really what Roxey Ballet is, and that's how I essentially got involved with them is is they really had it was just such a welcoming nonprofits atmosphere. And I think anybody who wants to get involved, marketing is, you don't need a business degree to do marketing. You just need to be able to reach out to people in a different way, or talk about a performance in a different way, or I've spent the past couple months photographing the dancers, and I think coming at it from that fresh perspective has been interesting, because I'm not necessarily looking at the best technique of dancing, because I don't necessarily know, but I can come at it from like what image and what movements have the most heart to it, and that's also what people want to see, and that's what I think draws people to the arts and to performances, and makes people stop watching Netflix and come out to an event sometimes.
That's great. That's awesome. So social media is huge. It's very important I'd say for any business that you have. I'd say for very, very few, like manufacturing or like large-scale corporate manufacturing. But how have okay, let me back up. So you're a filmmaker, so you've got a lot of experience with visual,
right,
obviously. So how do you feel you are fusing together the marketing with your background of visual to create this brand or more brand identity or recognition for Roxey Ballet?
Sure, that's a great question. I bring my camera with me to work every day, which to me is just exciting to go around observing these rehearsals and to talk to the dancers behind the camera and capture what they're doing. And what was the other part of the question?
Well, I mean, I think that you nailed it. But I mean, like fusing that all together.
Yeah.
The visual standpoint, but also the marketing, and then like putting this together into this beautiful branded package that has outlets through radio and TV and print media and websites, etc.
Sure, yeah. So like I said, going around with my camera and really conveying that ballet is really a beautiful form of art, and conveying all the movements and conveying that the tireless efforts that people are putting into it, and like I told you, I've been focused on the costumes lately, and I was able to see behind the scenes. So I think putting that personal touch on it, the costume designers are like, oh, nobody's ever done a story on us. So coming at it from that, like, let's go see what's behind the scenes. Let's go see what work is put into it. And I think because that fascinates me as somebody who doesn't know much about ballet, will fascinate other people who don't know much about ballet. So kind of allowing the audience to go observe with me, as it were.
And you've actually just led right into my next point. And folks, this wasn't designed. I mean, Katherine and I just kind of have this flow, which is awesome. And it was about the dancer's life. I think when someone thinks about a traditional career or a profession, like they might not consider dancing and some of the other performing arts as viable careers. I mean, they understand, okay, yeah, there's professional people who are in ballet and they're, in these big cities doing these things, but there's also others who are doing it and could be just as good, could have decided to not go to a larger city, but prefer to be in a different environment, etc. Can you just talk about, from your perspective, what you've observed regarding a dancer's life and the profession of dancing?
Well, I do know that there are, I think maybe 3 professional dance companies in all of New Jersey, 3 companies with paid dancers. So it's definitely not the easiest thing to do and to find work in. So that alone is pretty impressive that it's right here in Lambertville and it's thriving. But, some dancers have been doing it since they were 3 or 4 and just kept going, and it's something you have to stick with. A lot of them tell me if you leave it alone for just a year, it's so hard to get back into it because, your body when you're dancing, your body is moving 12 hours a day, like 6 days a week. Like these guys like don't stop. They're always dancing. So that's really what I've seen is that it's incredibly challenging and rewarding, but.
Well, we're about up on a short break, and we'll be talking more about Roxey Ballet Company. But in the interim, folks, the website is Roxey, Roxey ballet.org. There you can find out information about past performances, current performances, and you can also buy tickets there for the Nutcracker, which starts this coming Saturday, November 26th. You're listening and watching the Trenton 365 show with me, Jacque Howard, and we'll be back after a short break.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You've accidentally cut your daughter's bangs unevenly. Do you A, line things up a centimeter from her hairline?
Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man.
No. Sweatbands are so hot right now. Everyone's wearing them. Like that basketball player and that other basketball player.
B, get spiritual.
Mom, where did all the mirrors go?
A reflection could never capture our true selves.
Huh?
Beauty is within.
C, look on the bright side.
Less time blow drying, more time texting.
Or D, show empathy.
Mom, you really don't have
Ta-da! Twinsies.
I kinda love it. As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org/AZ. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
You have a car or truck you really love? I have one exactly like it. If anything happened to my baby, like a blown engine, a failed transmission, or the AC went out, I don't know what I'd do or how I'd pay for it. Well, I just learned about coverage you can get for those unexpected budget-breaking auto repairs. This coverage is the most affordable, complete car repair coverage, and it's month to month. They can save you thousands of dollars. Monthly auto protection is for car owners just like us. Our cars are 3 to 10 years old and have less than 125,000 miles on them. Monthly auto protection is so confident you'll benefit from your coverage. If you call now, they're offering the 6-month free for a limited time. That's right, the 6-month is free. Call right now for this radio-only, risk-free offer. 800-706-7063, 800-706-7063, 800-706-7063, 800-706-7063.
Iraq, Afghanistan. For our troops, the war on terror means multiple deployments and grievous losses.